guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna make a very famous Korean beef dish, bulgogi. Today I'm not just gonna teach you my simple but tasty bulgogi recipe with the accessible ingredients, but also I'm gonna teach you how to pick your beef for your bulgogi as well as 3 ways to eat it. Check it out. Hi new friend, this is Erica right here. I'm a Taiwanese citizen currently living in America. Cooking and traveling is my passion, so I'm here to share with you my favorite Asian recipes. On top of that, all my videos cover a little food knowledge and a history background of the dish, as well as a Chinese lesson at the end of the video. So if that interests you, please subscribe and keep watching. If you are a beef lover, you will definitely fall in love with bulgogi if you try it. Bulgogi is probably one of the most famous Korean barbecue here in the US. If you go to a Korean barbecue restaurant here, you can always find bulgogi on their menu. And that gets me thinking, what is the origin story of bulgogi? The origin of bulgogi can date back to around 250 years ago in Korea. Back then, the original bulgogi was actually a grilled beef skewer. And later in the 1800s, with the introduction of the metal grid to the public, Koreans started to cut their beef thinner and thinner and grill it on top of the grate. And that's the early version of bulgogi, which they call it the nyogamigui, which if you translate it straight to English, it means grill. With the frozen technique and the machine's help, the bulgogi beef cut becomes thinner and thinner over the years, and now if you go to a traditional restaurant and order bulgogi, their beef slice will be not thicker than 3 millimeters, which is around 1/8 of an inch. The main ingredient in bulgogi has always been soy sauce, garlic, sugar, sesame oil, and also the Asian pear. Most of these ingredients are very easy to find in the West, but besides the Asian pear, this is a little bit hard to get. Asian pear is a traditional tenderizer for the choice of bulgogi recipe. Asian pear is not so easy to find in a lot of countries, so there are some substitutes such as kiwi, apple, pineapple, and mango. My personal favorite is using the kiwi instead of the Asian pear because first of all, kiwi is a very great choice for tenderizing meat, and other thing is that the pineapple and mango kind of give the dish a little tropical vibe, which didn't really fit too well with the Korean cuisine. So if you can find Asian pear in your local supermarket, that would be great, but if not, I recommend you to use kiwi instead. But kiwi is really a powerful fruit for tenderizing meat, so like today's recipe, I'm using 300 grams of beef and I'm gonna use around half a tablespoon of kiwi puree. Now you know the special ingredients for our bulgogi recipe, let me teach you how to pick your meat for the bulgogi recipe. Traditionally, Koreans like to use the top sirloin or the rib eye for the choice of bulgogi, but the tenderloin cut is also considered as a very great choice. Besides that, you can also use the skirt or flake steak, but whatever beef you choose at the end, the more marbling will be the better because we really want this tender texture to our bulgogi beef. And if you're on a budget, ground beef is actually a pretty good choice for bulgogi as well, especially if you're trying to eat it on top of rice. Although it's probably not the most traditional choice, but I really like the flavor, so whatever beef you use is gonna taste great at the end. And like I said earlier, the bulgogi beef slice have to be really thin nowadays, so this is not really easy to find in a normal Western supermarket here in the US. So there's 2 different ways that I'll recommend you to get your hand on these thin sliced beef. First, you can go to your local Asian market. We normally have very thin slices of beef in the Asian supermarket because we eat hot pot with thin beef and also the barbecue with very thin meat. And the second thing you can do is call your local butcher shop a couple hours before you want your beef and tell them your choice of beef and tell them to freeze it so they can use a machine to slice it very thin later for you to pick up. The best thickness of the bulgogi beef is around 2 to 3 millimeters thick, which is around 1/8 of an inch. If you really can't get your hand on these really thin sliced meat, you can also slice the beef at home by yourself, but you probably need to marinate it for a little bit longer than 30 minutes. When I'm using the very thin sliced beef, like the hot pot beef, I will start marinating my beef around 30 minutes before my cooking, but if you have a thicker slice of beef, you can leave it in the fridge overnight. So now let me teach you how to make this super tasty bulgogi beef recipe, and after we make the bulgogi together, I'm gonna teach you 3 different ways of eating it at the end. Here's the ingredient we'll need for today's bulgogi recipe. Here's the beef that I picked it up in the Asian supermarket. It's very thinly sliced, and this is the rib eye. And here I prepared some sliced mushrooms, sliced onions, sliced carrots and scallions, and also our kiwi pureed. Here for the sauce, we have the sesame oil, mirin, soy sauce, minced garlic. If you have fresh garlic, you can use the fresh one as well. Sesame seeds, black pepper, and also the brown sugar. And as usual, the exact amount will be in the description box down below. First thing we need to do is marinate our beef. Put your beef into the mixing bowl and try to separate them as good as you can, so the sauce can be evenly absorbed by each slice of beef. Now, add in the kiwi pureed, as well as the minced garlic, ground pepper, sesame oil, mirin, soy sauce, brown sugar, and sesame seeds. Also, you can add in the carrots and the scallion slice. Use your hand to mix this really well. Don't be afraid of breaking the beef slice while you're mixing it. The beef for bulgogi are supposed to be tangled together while we cook it later. Now, put a cover on it and let it marinate in the fridge for 1 hour. If you're in a rush, 30 minutes will do too. But if you have a thicker slice of beef, like I said earlier, you might need longer time. Let's heat up a frying pan and add in some oil. Wait till the oil is hot, add in the onion and mushrooms. It doesn't take too long for the beef to cook, so we'll have to pan fry the onion and mushroom for around 3 minutes before we add in the beef. When you see that the onions start turning a little transparent and the mushrooms are softening up, push them to the outer side of the pan and add in some olive oil, and here goes the beef. Flatten out the beef evenly on the pan so it can get cooked faster. Keep the heat on medium-high the whole time and keep checking the beef. For Korean bulgogi, the beef is always well done, and we want it to be a little caramelized on the surface and then flip it around. When all the beef are cooked, mix the onion and mushroom in with the beef. At this point, you can see there's a lot of juice coming out from the beef. Some people like their bulgogi a little wet. You can totally serve it right now. But me personally, I like to cook my beef a little longer so it can caramelize more. The exact time really depends on your pan and your beef slice. The traditional Korean barbecue are always served well done, like I said, so as soon as your beef is cooked, it's good to go. Now, it's time to show you how do I eat bulgogi. There are many different creative ways to eat bulgogi because bulgogi is basically just a flavored barbecue for meat that you can eat it with any condiment you want. But if you're new to this Korean barbecue flavor, let me teach you 3 simple ways of eating bulgogi. First is the sam. When you go to a traditional Korean restaurants, they will normally give you a lot of different choices of lettuce that you can wrap your meat inside. And this action of wrapping, in Korean they call it sam, S-S-A-M. There are many different types of leaf of choice for sam, but the easiest access in the West will be the lettuce. Just simply put the meat in the lettuce and wrap it up, and that's it. You can also buy the Korean barbecue wrap sauce, the samjang, and add it into the wrap if you want. But for me, I think bulgogi have a lot of flavor already, so I like it to be just simple using the lettuce to wrap it. But if you want to buy the sauce, you can also do that, and that's the most traditional way they do it in the Korean restaurants. If you find wrapping bulgogi with your leaf is a little bit too much work, or you just simply don't have time to sit down that day to eat a meal, a twisted version of the sam is simply just make a bowl of salad and top it with the bulgogi. And I also like to sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on top of my bulgogi salad. If you're a Korean and you disagree, I totally get where you come from, but what can I say? I think it tastes great. The last one is just simply putting your bulgogi on a bowl of rice. This is my go-to choice for leftover bulgogi, especially if I'm trying to bring the lunchbox the second day to work. If you have some vegetables like steamed broccoli or other vegetable you want to add into your bowl, that is perfect. If not, I think the bulgogi beef and the sauce with the rice is a perfect choice for lunchbox. Now you learned 3 different ways of eating bulgogi. Let's learn how to say bulgogi in Chinese, shall we? The word of the day today is bulgogi, 铜盘烤肉. The most traditional way of cooking their bulgogi is actually on a copper pan. So the first 2 characters is 铜盘, which means copper plate. The last two character is 烤肉, which means grilled beef. So it's a copper plate grilled beef, which is 铜盘烤肉, bulgogi. Thank you for cooking with me to the end. I hope you learned a lot in this video. If you like the recipe, please give it a thumbs up. It's only gonna take you a second, but it means a lot to me. I make a video on YouTube every Thursday, so remember to hit that bell and you'll never miss out. Last but not least, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye!